Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening to all the participants of this session titled Risk-Informed Development Planning in Bangladesh. A very warm welcome to you all and thank you for joining my session. I'm Dr. Nurul Nahar and I am working as Joint Chief in Planning Commission as well as working as Project Director of a project titled National Resilience Program. So now for the purpose of this session is to describe the work that we're doing through the NRP, that's the National Resilience Program, and how we are building the risk-informed development in our planning system. So if you go to our outline of the session, I'll be talking very briefly about the Bangladesh hazards of the Bangladesh, just to give you an idea, maybe some of you know, to familiarize with where we are, and then what we are doing in the NRP very briefly. And I would like to just show how we are linking the planning, the risk-informed planning with disaster resilience and the key activities of our project, and along with the description, and also just touch on some challenges. So now I would like to show you the next slide, that is as I said, the hazards. Now, if you can look at the maps here, these are the published maps on the hazards of Bangladesh, just to give an idea that if we have the standing order of disasters published from our Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief. So there are at least 10 natural hazards identified, and Bangladesh is very susceptible to all these hazards such as flood. We have cyclone, storm surge, flash flood, and all these kind of things. And also the slow onset of other hazards like salinity is also a problem, and the drought is also a problem sometimes. As you can see on the left of the screen, it shows the flood-prone areas of Bangladesh. So it's frequently faced with floods, and sometimes they are catastrophic in terms of loss of property and sometimes lives. Although we have been managing all these disasters since our independence, but still we have a long way to go in terms of reducing our property losses and livelihoods. And as you can see on the middle of the middle slides, it also shows the, I think the earthquake. Earthquake is another high risk hazard. And we are doing a lot of preparation in terms of that, but still also we have a long way to go. So and also cyclone, as you can see in the right side, we've been facing severe cyclones since independence and before independence, and usually through the Bay of Bengal, sometimes in the Chittagong area and the Khulna area, and it does create havoc. So, what it manifests into is our development projects output becomes compromised. It is very difficult to make them sustainable because of all these disasters. So now I'd like to show you then in the next slide, another hazard is the riverbank erosion and the landslide. So all these are causing problems for the Bangladesh's development. We have to, the Minister of Disaster Relief works 24/7 hours throughout the year to provide not just the relief, but also reducing the risk of the disasters and overall disaster management. So from the Planning Commission, what we want to do is to integrate the risk of these hazards more in an informative and a structured way on our systems, in our development projects, in our national plans. So when we design these projects, they are more sound and the outputs are more resilient. So in the next slide, we have, as I was speaking about the hazards, I'd like to just touch on the climate change impacts. This conference, climate change impacts has been highlighted and how it increases the risks that we're talking about. For Bangladesh perspective, we can just sum it into like agriculture and food security, water resources, health, ecosystems and energy. And so all these vital systems are will be jeopardized or at risk in various factors because of the climate change impact. So climate change will increase the intensity and frequency of the disasters that I just mentioned just earlier. Next, we have in the next slide, yeah, so just very briefly, the sectors that are highly affected is the agriculture and the water sector, as you can see. And now I'd like to talk about in the next slide. Yes, so as I said, the disasters are causing a lot, did cause loss of lives and damage. So this table, as you can see, it shows the very catastrophic disasters, the floods and cyclones that you can get from the emergency event database. It's all published regularly. So here is up to 2009. You can see the death toll that has happened, although it is falling, and because of our government's management and the DRR measures in place, and also more awareness, but still the loss in terms of our USD dollars is quite high, I would say. Even recently, we've had in 2017 and 18, 19, some the cyclones and floods. 2017, we've had floods in the North Bangladesh, and we've had another cyclone called Amphan that did cause some damage to properties and livelihoods. So there is a trend. We can see that we will be facing these disasters, and because of climate change, it will be more frequent. So I'd like to then highlight upon what we have in the global arena. So what is the policy framework that is influencing our project? So it's basically based on the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, as you all know, that was adopted by the UN and all the countries, including Bangladesh, in 2015. You can see it's based on 4 pillars. So in this project, NRP, all these themes are incorporated in this project. And just want to mention to the viewers that this project is especially in another way, it is done in a coordinated way. So 4 ministries of Bangladesh, that is the Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Disaster Management, Local Government Division, and Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, the 4 ministries with support from 3 UN organizations, UNDP, UN Women, and UNOPS, and our 2 development partners, Swedish SIDA, UK8, and of course, Government of Bangladesh have all come together to form this project, National Resilience Program, to implement various aspects of the SFDRR. Yes, and for the next slide, just to show a quote that as a changing climate continues to break extreme weather records around the globe, we need the best technology and a collaborative effort to help us stay ahead of the storms. It is very, very rightly mentioned by GFDRR. And so Bangladesh is not working in a silo way, as that tends to be a trend. So the 4 ministries are working for this resilience of the country to face the natural disasters. And Ministry of Disaster Management is the main coordinating agency. And so this is more effective. We can pool our resources. We can do some work jointly. And also the cross-cutting issues like gender, disability, and climate change can be more incorporated properly in all the systems that we have here. And so I'd like to just mention that it's not just the global landscape that has influenced us. We have, in our country, a planned way of development. So we follow the 5-year planning system. We have the documents called 5-year plans. So in those plans, we have also highlighted the importance of resilient economy and not just prevention of disaster, but managing the disaster as a whole, reducing disaster. And right now, the government of Bangladesh has done a long-term planning. So we have the Delta plan for 2100. So to give us a view, so how Bangladesh can go on, be a sustainable economy in terms of both nature and economy up to 2100, so the next generations can have the same fruits that we are enjoying right now. And so that is the broader long-term vision. And beneath that, we have the perspective plan to give us a mid long-term vision up to 2041, where we expect to have a very higher growth and reach first our higher middle income country status. And if all the systems work, we hope to become a developing nation. So Bangladesh's aspiration is high. And it is possible if we have our systems working and may make them resilient to natural disasters and other hazards. And right now, just to mention to the audience, we are almost finishing the 8th five-year plan. So that will be the guiding document for all the ministries and the agencies and all the cross-cutting issues. And it is more integrating all the cross-cutting issues such as disasters in our planning, budgeting systems. Now, dear our audience, I'd just like to very briefly say what we're doing in the NRP. So the basic objective is where all those national policies and the global policies are there. So our objective is to improve capacities for gender responsive and risk-informed development planning. And we have very key outputs that we want to establish a digital platform for information to give to the planners. And there will be capacity building activities so that we can have projects in our annual development program where we give the allocation to the projects of the different ministries and agencies. So those projects themselves have the resilient component integrated properly, and also support the overall macro level plans such as the 8th five-year plan. We are having a disaster development result framework in the plan. So now Planning Commission monitors these plans as well. It is in a regular basis. So we are trying to see that all the resilience indicators are there. And also for key sectors, because of the time limitation and resource limitation of the project, we have selected 2 sectors to increase the knowledge in that sector. So that these are the industry and agriculture. And the last and important component is a private sector resilience. Through NRP, we are working to increase the private sector's risk-informed business practices. And next we have in our presentation the activity just mentioned. So I will now be going very briefly describing all these activities. So we have the 2 themes, public investment and private investment. So in the public investment, we have basically 4 activities, and including, and also on top of that, we have the capacity building, various activities such as trainings, workshops. And for the private sectors, we have these activities, as you can see in the slides. And I will be briefly touching upon that until the end of the presentation. First, I would like to show that we are producing a digital risk information platform. It is going to be a web-based platform where the planners can access and get the information on hazards and the risks. So risks of the various hazards, or the 10 hazards that I mentioned, are mentioned in our standing order of disasters. And there will be the risk scoring there. So whether it is high, medium, or low. And so what risks are there for the project. So in Bangladesh, as you can see, disaster is very location specific. So this system will help the planners who design the projects to understand the level of risk they may face with the project. And also the system will link with other existing systems we are having. Some are already established, some are ongoing. So it will not be a standalone system, and we will have a technical support so that it is integrated in our planning commission's IT structure. So even after the project, our IT personnel can oversee this system with the help of the technical firm that is producing it. So this is the cycle that we will have. And finally, the system will produce the report which we don't have in a report, and which can be attached or appended to the development project format. and it will help Planning Commission to appraise better, understand the risk perspective of the project, and give the necessary allocation to the project if there is more cost necessary for to address the DRR issues. And the next activity we have is the DIA. This is the disaster impact assessment. And basically it is, as I mentioned, that was the system, the DRIP. So DRIP will guide the disaster impact assessment for the planners. It is going to be 6-step, very simple to do, 6-step way of doing the DIA. And we have a development pro forma that is issued by the Minister of Planning, and there is a section that says that we have to consider the disaster and climate risk. But because of lack of data or knowledge level, it is scattered. It is very difficult for the development planners in the agencies to give the proper information. And also the methodology was lacking. So we have produced a methodology. So how to do the DIA, and it might be on the key sectors such as infrastructures, and the transport sectors, power sector, and whichever the Planning Commission may seem fit. Of course, it will not be one solution fits for all. It will be based on the sector's own nature and also the ministry's own mandate as well. But this will be supported by the DRIP system. And of course, capacity building will be there. So it will be easier as time goes, easier for them to exercise these, the DIA while writing the DP development project. And the next activity we have is incorporating some resilience factors in the 5-year plan. As I mentioned, we are doing the 8th 5-year plan. So as I said, we are following a national planned way of development, our current government. So we have very successfully identified some targets that could be included in the development results framework. So that is a very important thing. And you can see in our planning division webpage, we have the 7th 5-year plan. You can see that it was there, and it helped the ministries to guide their yearly planning, also the yearly budgets and the also financial plans. And we have proposed successfully these indicators and interlink them with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals as well. For example, the cyclone shelters we have, and then also we have CPP, cyclone preparedness and urban volunteers. It's a very important thing in Bangladesh for the disaster preparedness. So that was an important indicator. And also use of technology in the multi-hazards and number of resilient housing. So yes, of course. So the thing, just to think of the term that resilient housing, it's a government is doing the housing for the poor and for the other sectors of the community and the nation, but we have to now think of the resilient housing term. So there are some indicators there. And so we have tried to incorporate this in our 5-year plans. It will help the ministries to achieve these targets. And Ministry of Disaster Management is also involved with this achievement of these targets as well. In the next activity, sorry, we have in number 3, another study to support the macro plan. We carried out a quick study. It's called the Community Resilience in the 6 hotspots of the Delta Plan. As I mentioned that we have a Delta Plan. It is a very long-term vision up to the 2100, supported by the Netherlands government. So in that plan, we have 6 hotspots identified here as coastal zones, Barind area that is on the northeast, the Haur area in the east of Bangladesh, the Barind in the northwest of Bangladesh, then the Chittagong hill tracts in the southeast, And the major river areas, the floodplains, urban areas, and you can see the red spots on the Bangladesh map, and also cross-cutting areas, as you can see in the shaded area. So the study was conducted in the 6 hotspots to get a very local opinion from the local levels, the community, diverse community. So what kind of activities are needed to sustain the community from all the natural hazards they face. And for each of these hotspots, the hazardscape is very different. The demand was different, problems were different. We could identify the exact problems and also the solution they prescribed, and also we tried to suggest it for our national plans. So it was a very it gave us a very good output. And the next activity, sorry, before coming to next activity, as I was mentioning the outputs, um, we have had these outputs, and we are calling them 10 nationwide resilient tasks. And as you can see, all the communities, if you summarize their suggestions, so these are the activities they mentioned that the government needs to do more. There are, of course, actions being taken out by the concerned ministry, but we need to do more in these areas, such as Upuzila based resilience program, resident housing shelters, reconstruction, riverbank protection, drinking water availability, and excavating silted up river canals, and a rehabilitation program for the disaster affected people, agro-based industry, rural and urban areas, food storage facilities, access to electricity, and afforestation. And then, and the next activity I'd just like to mention, a very important task that we're doing from the NRP programming division. It's the risk profile of Chittagong industrial area. As you know, you might know that the risk profiling is an activity carried out by different sectors around the country. What we're doing here is for the industry sector. As I mentioned, the NRP's theme was investment for the public and private, the resilience investment, both the public and private. The Chittagong area is a very important hub for our business, for our export and import sectors, and there are the important ports there. In terms of economic value, it is a very important area. So we selected the Chittagong industrial area to see what kind of risk level they will face due to the hazards, selected hazards up to in the near future up to 2030. This will give the planners there, like the city corporations, local government divisions, the Chittagong port, to see whether the infrastructure there are more resilient, whether any change we need to do there, and what kind of new investment we might do to make those infrastructure more resilient. So should we plan now or later? So whether the business as usual is enough. So with this objective, we did the risk profiling. And so it will be a very strategic, give us some strategies, and also give some ideas on the financial protection that may be required, and what kind of risk reduction opportunities are there, and how we can manage overall these risks. And so it is still undergoing, and we hope to share soon within the next 2-3 months the outcome of this study. So, and I would like to mention that we have here selected only 4 hazards: the flood, waterlogging, cyclone, salinity. And the outputs will be the maps that will help the planners, inundation maps of the floods, the rainfall maps, inundation maps from cyclone and tidal surge, and the salinity maps from salinity maps as well. So we hope these will be very good information tools for our planners. Next, we have another study for the private sector totally. As you know, supply chain in any business is a very important aspect to keep it vibrant and running. And for here, we try to understand, okay, we have a very important sector, as you know, the ready-made garment sector, which is one of the highest export earning business of Bangladesh, and also generating a very high number of employment, especially for the women, and contributing to our national economy. But so for that, this sector, what about the supply chain? Is it resilient enough if we consider the disasters that we will be facing the near future and due to the climate change? So this study very conducted in a very selected way, the supply chain of the ready-made garment sector from in the Dhaka area and in the Chittagong area. So what are the costs incurred in case of a major flood happens? So which is a cheaper way of doing keeping the supply chain robust? So they considered that transport and the roads, the river, and compared which transport will give the better results. And it showed that it compared the three areas, like for the road and the freight train, and also the river and area. So it showed that the river and route is the most effective, cost effective to carry the loads or cargoes compared to the carrying cost of the cargo over the our road network. But we have challenges also. That means we have to improve our river and systems and the ports there, do some more investment, but it will make faster our supply chain and more protected from the disasters such as the floods or cyclones and these disasters. So this is a very important publication. We hope we can share with you very soon. And the other study that we did was on impact of impact of waterlogging. As you know, waterlogging is a very menace to our cities. As Bangladesh is growing, waterlogging is also a problem, some due to the natural causes, some due to the man-made. So we studied again in Chattogram, as I mentioned, it is a hub for industrialization. Khatunganj is a very old area, traditional area of doing the business there since the last 100 years. So it is a wholesale market area. You can see the onions here. And in terms of during the monsoon area and when the high tides come, it is the inside this area, it's always flooded, and it causes havoc to the businessmen there, and there are lots of properties being damaged, including the all the marketing products that they gather there. So the businessmen have to face every year huge amount of losses. But that was not, the study was not, that the evidence was not there. How much are they losing every year? So through this study, we hope to inform our policy planners what changes can they do, what are the economic impacts, whether we can do some relocation of some businesses, or how can those small units be more restructured to make them more resilient to the waterlogging problem. And also, not only that, what can we do holistically to solve the waterlogging problem of the whole Chittagong area? Some important suggestions have come up. And you see the cost, in the next slide, I would just like to show you the economic cost. Before that, just to show the viewers where it is, it's in the Chittagong area. And here we have the buildings. They have mapped in the Khatunganj area, the 5 types of buildings. And you can see the location of the building is very packed. The whole Khatunganj area, it is just beside the canal here. And in the Chattogram city here, it's you can see the location of the Khatunganj. It is a few kilometers away from the international airport in Chittagong. So in the next slide, we have, yes, in the next slide, you can see the economic impact. It says that through our study, by 2020, our estimated direct economic loss will be, in terms of taka, this Bangladesh taka, about 4,500 crore takas there by 2020, and so it's a very huge amount. And also we can see in the other three slides here, the three pictures, the modeling done for the low rainfall, average rainfall, heavy rainfall. And we can see that if it's heavy rainfall, it might be on also the some factors due to the sea level rise might be here. It shows that which parts of the area are very vulnerable. The red being the very vulnerable side. You can see the red area in the vulnerability for heavy rainfall map here. It's very large, very area is substantial, almost 50%. Even even in the scenario of low rainfall, we still have a very high substantial amount of vulnerable areas. So that is the business units, and even average rainfall. It also we have vulnerable units. Here I just like to say that they did some very important recommendations we could find. We can have an urban blue-green infrastructure for the whole Katungganj. So this concept we are trying to promote urban blue-green infrastructure, not blue separate or green separate. So we can have the greenery increased, and such as the trees, shrubs, grass, and the blue elements such as the control the rainfall, flood, and water body, and also control the man-made interventions. So we can have it such as the pavements, wells, retention basins, and construction of wetlands designed in a more environment-friendly manner, and also increase the canal capacity. There are many canals there through dredging. If that is done on a regular basis, and we can have the waterlogging problem, I think, may be reduced to some extent. So after this, we will go to our next activity, that is the business continuity planning. In Bangladesh, we have seen that all the private sector businesses, the business continuity plan and guideline is missing. So through the NRP project, we would like to develop a guideline for the private sectors, and for the ready-made garment sector, or for that Chittagong area. Just I mentioned the two studies done in the Chittagong area. There is an association called Chittagong Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and they have different types of businesses there. And so what could be the business continuity plan for them? So how to make them more resilient in terms of problems such as waterlogging, cyclones, and how to keep the business running. As you know, the business continuity plan has several elements such as the supply chain, our recovery plan, our role of the staffs, and how the critical equipment will be managed. And we want to do this guideline and also pilot it first in the BEJA units. BEJA is the Bangladesh Economic Zones Authority. As I mentioned in the very first time, we are not doing the planned way of development just for the public investment, also for the private. So now the government, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, also is promoting the idea planned way of industrializations. It cannot be done scattered way or without in a silo way. So BEJA, this authority, Bangladesh Economic Zones Authority, is doing the industrial zones where the private sector business can do their business, and government can give the necessary support, infrastructure support there. But we are trying to promote the BCP with the BEJA, so that all the units there can follow the BCP guideline too, so that in terms of a big disaster crisis, they will face less problem. They will know what to do. They will know what kind of costs they might incur to keep their business running. And so these two, we're almost near the end. Just two pictures which can see in the slides are the two zones that we want to pilot the BCP, Business Continuity Plan. One is the area called Meghna. This is near the Dhaka, the capital area. This is the private sector there, and also here we have the in the left side another area. It's called the Mishorai industrial zones, and the whole of the, you can see it's already developed there. It is, the government has done a lot of infrastructure regulations there, support it is running, so many business units are there. We want to pilot the BCP guideline for this area and this zone and for the Meghna zone, and to see whether the business units there can follow it and adopt it. But the new units, when they are established, they can adopt the BCP for their business. And while I just mentioned all the activities we have been accomplished and also are undergoing, still there are many challenges that we are facing. To mention very briefly, it is, I think you might agree that I think I've heard in this sessions of the UR 2020, availability of the data. So availability of data in Bangladesh, we have data being produced, but making them available for the users is a very challenging thing. It is scattered or fragmented. We have different departments doing generating different data. And we have our national statistical organizations called the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. And we also have like Minister of Water Management, or Minister of Disaster Management, Minister of Agriculture generating similar or these kind of data. But we need to have them in, make it more accessible to the planners who does the project designing, both in our public sector and also like maybe in the near future in the private sector. And we have to understand the dynamics of these scenarios, the climate change. And this is very challenging. Minister of Environment gives the policy framework for our climate change guidelines. Now they are forming a national adaptation plan, and we have a Bangladesh climate change strategy and action plan already. The national adaptation plan will give a long-term view of what kind of adaptation measures need to be there. It might for whole of the country. So because the dynamics is very changing, climate change, so it makes the risk hazard escape also very dynamic as well. So to plan for the future is also very difficult. So we need more resource, more training, more expertise to do these kind of scenario analysis when we do our national plans for the 5-year and the perspective plan for the 10 or 20 years. And of course, we hope that there are government procedures, like in all countries, we have to make in some cases more simple. So for the data generation, data accessibility. And engagement with the private sector, we are trying to engage with them more so that they can have more in the, especially in the compliance issues. That is one area we need more attention. And also, of course, in the human resource and institutions level that are working in the disaster risk reduction area, the key ministries. So we have to really step up the overall human resource skills and institutional setup there, so that those ministries such as the Ministry of Water, Agriculture, and maybe Environment, Disaster, Public Works, they are doing the work through the mandates, but they can do more if we want to be a higher middle income country by 2030 and a developed country by 2040. So that is the more challenge. So we don't have much time. So now we're in 2020, we ended. Our pandemic has put a very a dampening to our economic growth, like in many countries, but we hope to recover in 2021. But having said that, the disaster risks are looming large. The cyclones, the floods, storm surge, even the slow onsets, there salinity is a big problem. Sometimes droughts. So whether we are able to manage them more in a comprehensive way with more technology, proper technology, and also more skilled personnel. So that is a big challenge, and not just the coordinated way. So I'd like to end by saying that NRP is doing it in a coordinated way. Sometimes for Bangladesh, it's a very big challenge, but we showed that it is possible to work in a single area. This is the resilience of the nation, to implement the key themes of the Sendai Framework and the resilience mentioned in our national plans in a coordinated way. It is possible, even with a limited amount of resources, if we can pick the right activities. I think it is very possible to achieve the resilience, but we still have a long way to go. Now, I would like, this is my presentation, and now I'm very open to any questions that you may have about our project or any of the issues mentioned. Thank you very much.
We have a small video on supply chain resilience. Now we are going to share that one.
Yes.
Can you see that? Can you see that video?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, I cannot see.
Can you see that? Can you find the video?
I think it stopped. Can you again do it? No?
Yeah.
No, I cannot see.
It's the music is only there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I cannot see the video. I can hear the beautiful music.
I'm sorry, I think it's not working. Can I go for the question and answer session? Yeah.
ওনাকে একটু ডক্টর মুন্নার রেফারেন্সে আমি একটু কথা বলতে চাচ্ছি ডক্টর মুন্নার রেফারেন্স আমাকে উনি ডক্টর মুন্নাই মাত্র জানালেন যে ওনার সাথে কথা বলার জন্য
I think now we can take questions.
Yes, anyone, any questions? And of course, this recording will be there for other center.
May I?
Yes, please.
This is Kaji Tasmina Razmiri.
Yes,
from Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief in Bangladesh. First of all, I want to thank the presenter, because the presentation was excellent and it is very informative and very well presented. So once again, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, I don't have any question because the presentation was really, really nice, and I can understand clearly all the opinion and things you want to share. Just one thing in your last slide, you have mentioned that there are some complex government systems that challenge for the information. I mean, the system,
Yes.
the whole system. So just I am wondering, would you please explain what should we do to solve the problem? That's a small question to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for raising a very pertinent question. So what we try to mean that, as you know, of course, government is by nature is a complex, because we have to follow rules and regulations so that the service we give is very proper. But in the web of all the rules and regulations, we also need to make it more fast and efficient. And for the resilience works that we're doing, it is very dependent on information. So we need access to informations in different ministries, departments, in a quicker, faster way. So that is challenging. So we might need to make it more easier, so that, and also safer, so that the secondary data is there, so that the researcher, academician, all the planners of the government agencies can access. For example, we have the statistical organization, BPS, doing data, but not all the data sets for the SDG or the SFD are there. But government has already taken up measures to generate the data. But having said that, right now, if I want to work on the risks of like one sector, like livestock fisheries, overall of Bangladesh, it's kind of difficult to get all the vulnerability data, exposure data, and the nature of the different hazards in one place. So again, to create the scenarios, it again takes time. So if you could have the data in one area, it would be the coordinated one way, so that the ministry can be sharing data. We need some data sharing policy maybe. So this published data is more shared and open. Also now we are talking about in the world, the open source. So we can think about that, how we can go there. So that thing I try to pinpoint, just to make it easier for information gathering. And basically that, and other system is that now we're very internet based, and also the pandemic has made us more using the internet more. So maybe so what kind of data we can upload on the on our government website? Maybe the department, they themselves have some data there, but are they made public or not? So if we can make it more public, that might help. So these kind of small changes might help. And maybe our 4 ministries, as I mentioned, we have 4 ministries working in this NRP National Resilience Program. And we can work on how to make the data exchange more easier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or you may post any questions also.
If there is no more question, can you go for closing session?
Yes, and what about the video? Is it working? We can post the video there, yes, and maybe all the viewers can watch it later. So, dear viewers, we had a small video on the supply chain. As I mentioned, it's a very new work in Bangladesh, and to give an idea what we did in the supply chain study. And we will post it in the record in this slot here. Our host might have it somewhere there, the link, so that you can watch it later. Thank you. And so I think if there are no more questions, then also time is also, we're nearing the end, it's 8:45. And I would like to thank you all for joining the session and your patience for listening to this presentation on the National Resilience Program, how we're trying to build together with 4 ministries the resilience of the nation, of the country, and we have achieved some things, and still we have still more things to do. And I hope I could elaborate on our activities or our good works. And you can please post any question or email me if you need more further information on any of the work we have done. I would like to share more information. So thank you very much for joining and listening to our program. We hope to be in communication with you again. Thank you.